Hi, my name is Connie Sumberg, and I've been making jam and jelly with Pomona's Universal Pectin for 30 years. We developed Pomona's Pectin because we wanted to make jam and jelly that was high in fruit and low in sugar, and we wanted to be free to use a variety of sweeteners. Since then, I've spent many hours helping people make jam and jelly sweetened to their taste. Today, I'm going to show you how to make low-sugar strawberry jam. I'll be following the recipe in our Cooked Recipes Low Sugar or Honey section, and I'll be demonstrating the directions, low sugar or honey, steps 1 through 6. For this recipe, you will need 4 cups of mashed strawberries, 3/4 cup up to 2 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons of calcium water, and 2 teaspoons of pectin powder. Okay, let's start jamming. The first thing to do is make calcium water. Pomona's gelling power is activated by calcium. You will find a small packet of calcium powder in the Pomona's box. You'll also need a small, clean, clear jar with a lid. To make calcium water, measure a 1/2 cup of cold water and put it into the jar. Shake the calcium powder down to the bottom of the packet. Then cut it open and measure a 1/2 teaspoon of calcium powder. It's important to measure because you may get more than a 1/2 teaspoon in the packet. Add the calcium to the jar and screw on the lid. Always shake the calcium water well just before you use it. When you're done, you can store your unused calcium water in the refrigerator until the next time. As with any canning or preserving, you need to start with clean canning jars, clean screw-on rings, and new lids. Put the jars into a large pot with a rack on the bottom and fill with water. Bring the water to a boil, turn the heat off, and put the lid on. You want to keep the jars hot so that when you fill them with the hot fruit mixture, they don't crack or break. In a smaller pan, cover the lids and rings with water and bring them to a boil. Turn off the heat and put a top on the pan to keep them hot until you're ready to use them. Next, prepare the fruit. Here I'm using strawberries, which have to be washed and hulled. Then slice the berries and mash them. I like to use a potato masher because it mashes the berries without liquefying them. Now I'll measure 4 cups of mashed strawberries into a saucepan. Generally, it will take about 8 cups of whole berries to make 4 cups of mashed. Strawberries naturally have enough acid, so I don't need to add lemon juice. But if lemon juice is called for in our recipe, this is where you would add it. The main reason to use lemon juice is for canning safety. Also, some fruits just won't gel well without the added acid, so it's really important to add lemon juice when called for. Next, I'll add 2 teaspoons of calcium water to the mashed fruit and stir well. Calcium is essential to activate the pectin, so don't skip this step unless you know your fruit has enough calcium in it naturally. Now I'm going to measure my sugar into a bowl. I like to use 1 cup of evaporated cane juice for strawberry jam because I find it really brings out the flavor of the fruit. Then I'll measure and add 2 teaspoons of pectin. It's important to mix the sugar and pectin thoroughly to keep the pectin from clumping when you add it to the boiling fruit in the next step. If I were using a liquid sweetener like agave, I would measure the pectin into the agave and stir well to blend. It's time to turn on the stove and bring the mashed fruit mixture to a boil. Once boiling, add the pectin sugar and stir vigorously for 1 to 2 minutes to fully dissolve the pectin. Make sure the fruit has returned to a boil before you turn off the heat, because it needs to be really hot when you put it into the jars in the next step. It's time to fill the jars. A jar lifter is handy for removing the jars from the hot water. I also like to use a funnel because it makes it a lot easier to get the hot fruit into the jar. Fill the jars to within 1/4 inch of the top. Then use a paper towel to wipe the rim of the jar clean. Take a lid out of the hot water with a lid lifter. Center it on top of the jar and screw on the ring so it is finger tight. Water bath processing is a necessary step for your jam to remain stable on the shelf. Place the filled jars into the pot of boiling water and make sure the water covers the top of the jars. Bring the water back to a boil. If you're at sea level, boil for 10 minutes. For every 1,000 feet above sea level, add an additional minute. When the time is up, remove the jars to cool. In a few hours, you can check to be sure they are sealed. The lid should be sucked down tight with no movement up and down. The next day, when the jam is thoroughly cool, you'll see the full gel. Properly water bath processed jam keeps on the shelf for up to 1 year. Once opened, low sweetener jams and jellies keep in the refrigerator for about 3 weeks. I hope this answers some of your questions about making jam and jelly with Pomonas and inspires you to try more of our recipes. Visit our website to find answers to many more jam-making questions, and look for Pomona's Universal Pectin at your local natural food store, farm stand, or on the web. And as always, happy jamming!